Good morning, ladies. I'm preparing for you rotation 6 today. So I wanted you to look at the screen here and see kind of how rotation 6 is laid out in its home position. Excuse me. If you remember, 6 is the exact opposite of 3. So if you remember in 3, for example, we had Emma in the up front right corner. Um, and then we had Anna in the back right corner or back left corner. In this case, they're switching. And same thing here. We had in 3 we had Ava in the back right corner, and now we've got her in the front left corner. So same thing here. We have Sydney and Haley switching with Charlize and Sophie. So here, what I want you to think about is the key move that the first move that is done here. Actually, it's two parts in the fact that we move the middle to the corner so that she's not in the way. That also allows us to switch our outside hitter from the front and our setter from the back in. And the key thing is that when Emma moves up, she cannot cross the feet. Of Charlize and Sophie until the ball is contacted, and Sydney and Haley or Haley would move to the back and they get across the feet of Ava until the ball is contacted. So notice that they're slightly in the middle here, but they've switched positions. Once that ball is contacted, they can immediately go into their spots, right like this, and we are off and ready to play. So now once the opposing team serves us the ball, the back row is set and ready to play. They are set and ready to play, and Charlize would be back here covering, Charlize and Sophie would be covering this back area. Anna and Jordan would be covering the right side, and Sydney and Haley would be covering the left side. So we're in a position, we're receiving the ball. Once that ball is received, they can then send it to our setter, which is Emma here in the front. Once Emma is ready, she can then set that ball to either our outside hitter over here. She could set it to hitter over here as well. Or she could then have a situation where she sets it to our middle in section 2. So if you remember the other day, one thing I wanted to talk about also quickly was you heard in practice the other day us talking about 555, 222, CCC. What I wanted to point out to you was why we say those things. So some of you might be familiar with that terminology, but I wanted to kind of go over that real quickly. So what I wanted to do is just identify that here's where our setter is standing in a ideal situation. Now that doesn't always happen that way. If the ball comes to the back row and they set it to a place that is not in the front area section, then that's just the way that life goes, and our setter has to get that ball wherever it goes. However, in an ideal situation, she would be here, and what we do is we label off the sections of the net that are in front of her when she is facing this direction. So if the ball was being set directly, if she were to send it directly in front of her, we call that 1. If we send it to where Ava is currently standing, that's 2. Then we have 3, 4, and the most outside section of the net we call 5. So notice that Ava's in 2, Sydney and Haley would be then hitting from 5. So sometimes you'll hear your coaches say, call the ball, call the ball. And when we do that, we're saying that we want Sydney to say, hey, I'm ready to hit it from 5. Or we want Ava to say, hey, I'm ready to hit it from 2. If for some reason Emma decides that she wants to set it behind her, we don't use a negative number because it's behind her. Instead, we use the alphabet. So notice that we have, if she were to set it directly behind her head, which would be really hard, we would call that A. If she were to send it in the middle here, we call that B. If she sends it to the outside, then that's called C. So that's why we call where the terminology for 555, 222, and CCC came from. And that's where you would be able to say that calling the ball, and make sure that you call that loud so that, and of course it is Emma's decision or our setter's decision to decide where that ball actually goes. But be prepared for you to be the one to receive at all times. And even if you don't receive the ball, let's say she sets it to the outside to 5 for Sydney or Haley, Ava still needs to act out as if she's going to hit it so that the opposing team has to defend that. Same thing with Anna and Jordan, or Anna over here. She has to act out as if she's going to hit it so that the opposing team has to defend that. Sorry, in this case we wouldn't want Anna to hit it because she's our libero, but she has to defend that. So that's why we kind of act out, even if you're not going to be receiving the ball, act it out. Okay, that said, let's go through that rotation one more time real quickly. Okay, so once again, we're going to go through this real quickly of where we would go if the ball is being served by the other team to us. So as I said, we would want to be in our position to be prepared to have Charlize back here, and we would move Ava into the corner, and we would move Emma up here so that she can get into a more of her setting position, and Sydney would be over here, not crossing Ava, and Emma cannot cross Charlize or Sophie yet until the ball is contacted by the opposing team. Once that's done, Emma can move up in her setting position. That allows Sydney to move back here to cover the back row, along with Anna or Jordan on the other side, and then Charlize or Sophie are covering the whole back section here. And that said, once that's done, the goal is for the back row to then send it to our setter over here, who can then decide, does she set it to the outside in front of her? Does she set it to the middle over here? Does she set it to the setter on the opposing side or behind her? So that's pretty much how 6 goes. Let's quickly go through and look at how we do the defense for that. So let me quickly put our people back in their normal positions. Okay, and let me do a quick copy job. Wasn't ready for this one, I guess. So this is our defensive position here. Remember that when we're in our defensive position, we want Charlize to be our outside hitter who's covering the whole back section. And we need to kind of have these two people right here, our setter and our libero, kind of standing prepared to cross. This is much like what we would do in 3. So here what we want is we want to be able to get our right side setter to this other side once the other team makes contact. So we line them up. We're trying to reduce the amount of space that Emma has to run, and same with Anna and Jordan. So once they do make that contact, Emma would move over, and Anna or Jordan would move over here as well. That said, we would also be prepared for then having our 2 setters on both sides. We then need to move we always want our middle in the middle, our front middle in the middle, and that means that our middle and our outside hitter need to switch as well. So this is what position we're kind of in. Charlize or Sophie are covering our back. We have our back side covered here. Ava is in the middle and ready to go. So that's kind of our middle defensive position. Notice I kind of have a V here occurring in the back section. Not significantly, but we just kind of want that to be covered so that Charlize can cover here, or Anna can possibly get in case we have a tip here, or Emma can possibly deal with a tip here, or even behind Anna. So that's kind of your defense responsibilities for 6. All right, so are we ready to go with this one? I hope so. I look forward to seeing you guys today, and then of course we have practice tomorrow.